I'm calling this class "Who Wants Kids?" I just feel like it's an interesting title for where we're at, what we're doing, and an issue that I think is worth talking about. And the issue is that the population of the planet is shifting quite notably, actually, and it's worth taking note of because it really has an impact on what the future is going to look like. And now, not for me, because for me, I mean, I'll be dead soon enough. But you all, most of you are quite young, and most of you are going to survive. You're going to be around for another 60 years or so. And it's going to have what you see is going to be very, very different, right? So can you go to the next slide? So first off, I want to show you something, just kind of, because this is the part of this class that is very much international and global, where the next 1,000 babies will be born. So this is basically now. And think about the planet. So 511 will be born in Asia, the next 1,000 babies. And this is why, in a class like this, here in the West and certainly in the United States, a lot of times in the U.S. we get sort of lulled into thinking that the world revolves around us, around the West. And, not just white people, but really around the West. And one of the things that I'm trying to do in this class is kind of express to you or get you to see that the world does not revolve around us. And, even things like media and what's popular in terms of, like music and film and video and TV and so on. It's like really the whole world does not follow Hollywood and does not follow what is created here in the United States. The world is a very, very diverse, very complex place, and you have to live and spend time on the other side of it to really fully comprehend. So where the next 1,000 babies will be born, look at these numbers: 511 in Asia, 326 in Africa. And, look at Europe and look at the Americas. And when we look at the Americas, look at the U.S. is just 30. And of that 30, I should say, and this is what's really kind of worth saying in a class like this, less than half of them are white. Because the birth rate among white Americans is lower than other Americans. And so same in Europe. So we look at France and Germany and the UK and Italy, like how many of those babies, 6 out of 1,000 will be born in France, where the next 1,000 babies are born at any moment, 6 in Germany. But of those babies, a good percentage of them are not white either. And so this is in so many ways, the browning of the world. And so I want to have a conversation about this because it's really worth talking about because the world is changing pretty quickly. Can you go to the next slide? And here's what it looks like. So, what they did was they put these little kind of towers of kind of populations, right? Like every, I don't know what this is, like every 50 square kilometers or something, right? And so some of them are higher than others. Here you can see, obviously, the Sahara Desert. There aren't many people living in the Sahara Desert or the Amazon. But look at the numbers. Look at where the population of the world is. And sometimes this is a really nice graph to have a kind of a vision for these people's lives in India and in Pakistan and in China, and in Malaysia, and the Philippines, and so on. These people's lives are not revolving around the things that we here in the United States imagine to be really important. The TikTok videos that you're watching, the people that you follow on TikTok, are really uninteresting to the vast majority of the world's population. They're watching other videos. And this is something that that's why this class, talking about international issues in the way that I have internationalized this class, that's why it's really valuable to see. Can you go to the next slide? So here's the world's most populous nations today. Well, it's 2017, but essentially you can say today, and in 2050. So look at India. Look at how India is going to grow. India is going to grow, in the next 30 years by practically the entire population of the United States today. And China's going to lose population, which we're going to talk about. Look at the growth of Nigeria. Right, Nigeria will be the third largest country in the world. And then, look at Indonesia, Pakistan, Brazil, and so on, right? Like this is why I'm often saying, if you really are interested in understanding the world, you got to go to the other side of it and see what it is that other people are seeing. Because that's where folks are. Go to the next slide. So what in this kind of turquoise color here, this is the percentage of the population under the age of 15, and the darker one is the percentage of the population over the age of 65. So it's how young and how old is your population. And look at Africa here. 40% of the continent of Africa, now mind you, it's different in every country, but 40% is under the age of 15 versus 3% over the age of 65. Yo, man, just hold that a second. Just hold that. And look at Europe. Europe's an aging population. Look at the United States, an aging population. And look at Latin America, the world. Asia, also a young population, except some countries, which we're going to talk about today, and Oceania, right? So it makes me think, if I want to imagine the future, if I'm in finance, those of you who are in finance and you want to go to Wall Street, you want to make a lot of money, you want to do whatever you want to do, look to Africa, man. Look to India. What's going on there? You can't have that many young people and not have dynamic growth and exchange. Like, you can't. You look to Africa. You look to the places where the growth and the change are going to happen. Utterly fat. Look to the Middle East. Right? So we have this idea of Europe and North America. It's like that's the center of power in the world. It's not going to be the center. It's not the center of power of the next century. The center of power is where people are. So it's just it's a different way to see things, right? Okay. Hey, can we get the two of you, our first volunteers? And Sai isn't here, but you know what I'd really like to have? I'd like to have a volunteer from either Bangladesh or India or Pakistan. From there, bro. Where are you from? Bangladesh? Dude, come on down, man. You're on. Once again, you're clapping for him. He hasn't done anything except he says he's from Bangladesh. All right, man. You can. All right, bro. There you are. Bangladesh. Wait, is this a
No, this is from India, though.
from India?
Yeah, I went to boarding school there.
Oh, you went to boarding school there? Ah, man. Okay. Okay, you can go to that one right there. Okay, y'all. Hey, so can you introduce yourselves? I guess we'll start with you, bro. And you can just leave your mics on once you turn them on.
Yeah, my name is Umair Hamid, and I grew up in Bangladesh. I was there for 16 years of my life, and then I moved to India for 2 years for boarding school, and now I'm here. So,
Now
and
you're
I'm
here.
a marketing major and a theater minor.
A theater minor?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, awesome, man. Okay, so wait, so how do you pronounce your name? Omer?
Yeah, that's right.
Omer. Okay. Yes.
Hi, I'm Ewa. I'm from Nigeria. I lived in Nigeria for 14 years and I moved here. Yeah. I'm a biology major and a film studies minor. Yeah.
Cool. It's Ewa.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
My name is Chisbel. I'm from Nigeria. I'm a senior studying electrical engineering and computer engineering minor. And yeah, I think
Yeah. We're in Nigeria. Where are you from? Where's your family from?
my dad is from Imo State. My mom's from Abia State. I live in Lagos now.
Okay, so is your family in Dhaka? Yeah, that's a good guess, right? Of course, you know. Okay, so take a look at this graph that I have up here. So 19 of the 20 countries with the highest birth rates are in Africa. Okay, and Niger is on top, but Nigeria is actually down quite a bit, but nonetheless, right? But Nigeria is so large that it produces, it's the largest group. And can you go to the next slide? No, hang on, go back. Yeah, go back. So here's my question to you all. What are some things that you think about? And the birth rate in Bangladesh is very high also, by the way. I mean, you saw from those earlier numbers that Bangladesh is going to be a very populous country. When you all think about having children, as people from these countries that are the future, the growth areas of the world, what do you think about?
In Nigeria, it's kind of expected. I feel like that's just what most people do. I personally do not want children, but yeah, I just feel like it's just kind of when you're a woman, it's kind of just like, what else would you do?
What else would you do?
That's how it's looked at. Like, if you don't want children, a lot of the time it's kind of frowned upon.
Mm-hmm. So it's expected.
Mm.
And Ewa, you were shaking your head to that.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. Like after university, they keep asking you, they start asking you, when are you going to have children, all that stuff. And then, like she said, if you don't want to have children, they'll be like, what are you here for? As a female, what else can you do?
So
Like
is
that.
but is it expected of everybody, of every woman or every couple, let's just say, right? Of everyone to have children?
Yes.
Yeah, everyone.
Yeah. It's just a given, like you don't even.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people don't even realize that you have the choice not to. It's kind of just when you think of what you do, you just say, okay, I go to school, I get married, and I have children.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But you are saying, Chisbel, you are saying, but you don't want to have kids. How many siblings do you have?
3.
You have 3?
Yeah, 3 sisters.
Uh-huh.
And
Go ahead.
oh yeah, they all want children, so I think my parents will have enough grandchildren.
So they're okay with that?
No.
They're still not okay with
I
you
mean,
not
I
having
haven't
kids?
said it yet, but I feel like it won't go over very well, but it'll be fine. Yeah.
It'll be fine because
Yeah,
it'll
they'll
have
have
to be
enough.
fine. Okay. Well, yeah, now you're just saying it on the live stream, so as long as you're family doesn't watch it, you're okay. So, so can you just go into that, like this idea? So you must, it's from what I'm hearing from you, you're kind of rare. I mean, do you talk about it with other people? I mean.
Yeah, I think it was just like a few years ago I realized that, oh, I actually have a choice. Because before, I think even just in most places, when you're a child, you probably think of, because you see what your parents did, then you're thinking like, oh, and you see a lot of people, that's what they do. So you kind of just think that's what you're probably going to do. Then you grow up and then you realize like what you actually want. But I think I've mentioned it to my sisters and things like that. But I feel like more people are realizing now that they don't have to go that route. But when people say that, they think it's, oh, you just want to be you're just bitter, or you want to just focus on your career only, and that's kind of negative. It's like you're supposed to do what, like what women are kind of part of what they're made for.
What they're made for, right? Like it's just sort of like there's a creator, and the creator God put us on here, and they put women on here to have children, right? So is there a sense, so for both of you, right? So given that what I'm hearing you say is like, hey, well, but now I'm here, like you're at Penn State. You're not, you're not back in Abuja or in Lagos or something. You're here. That means the world has opened up for you in a way that's different than many people. So you have options. Like you see that you have options in a way. So is it more likely people who are more educated are the ones who are going to make this decision about like, yeah, I'm not going to have kids? Would you say that? Does that feel?
Yeah, I would say that. Let's say, for example, if you're here, like you don't have like a lot of family members to like put that pressure on you. But like when you're in Nigeria, like you have nowhere to escape to. So obviously, like that pressure is going to be like constantly on you. Yeah, to have kids.
So if you're in Nigeria, people are just going to hammer away at you to have kids.
Yeah, because you have family members everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, especially. How many siblings do you have?
I have 2 siblings. Well, like girls.
Yeah. And do you want to have children?
Oh, I want to have children because like we'll keep like the family legacy on. Because like we're all girls, we're gonna lose the last name, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to keep that going.
Well, how many kids do you want?
Like 2 or 3.
2 or 3?
Yeah.
All right. Omer, how about you? How do people in Bangladesh see this? Because people in Bangladesh are having a lot of kids.
Yeah, I mean, it is almost expected of every woman back in Bangladesh to have a child, at least. And it's mostly expected from the parents, actually. The parents want a grandchild. That's the thing. Like, the parents want to play with a grandchild. The parents want to, kind of see a grandchild be there. So they want, the woman to have a kid. And it depends, again, on, like, the education. Like, a lot of people in Bangladesh are not really educated. So for them, having kids is also a way of having people to work for them and bring income for them, right? So that's why they have this thing where they want to have more kids so that more kids can work, because child labor is very, very, very much there over in Bangladesh. So more kids work, get a collective income for the parents. The parents really don't have to work and feeds the families. So that's why they end up having like more and more kids. Personally, for me, I mean, it's up whoever I get married to. It's up to them, their body. I don't really. Yeah.
So you could or could not have kids. So the 3 of you, okay, and you went to private school, right? You went to boarding school in India, right? So the 3 of you obviously come from more money, right? You're not. The 2 of you, anyway. Do you? Okay, so, I mean, all 3 of you. Listen, let's compare to, dude, first off, in Bangladesh, like this guy here is, I mean, if you know anything about Bangladesh, the fact that you would even go to India to boarding school, you'd be here in the U.S., I mean, you're obviously really wealthy. So it's more of a choice, There's this choice comes onto you in a way that's very different, right? You can see your life going in different directions. Dude, how is that me saying that you're really wealthy? I mean, look at this jacket you're wearing. Awesome jacket.
I mean, yeah, I guess. Like, it's whatever it is, it's my dad's, not mine.
Yeah,
so.
no, I got you, man. Yeah, I know, I got that. So, what I'm curious about, and I want to dig in a little further, is this sense of kind of just an expectation, right? So the birth rate, the reason that 19 of the 20 countries with the highest birth rates are in Africa, and Bangladesh is not very far behind. The reason is because there are two things going on. One is just this expectation and the pressure to have kids. It's just a given that you do. And the second one is the kids become a source of stability for you and like definitely taking care of like parents and so on as people get older, right? It's an entire society that revolves around a larger traditional family, as opposed to here in the United States where our lives are much more revolved around nuclear families. So for example, if I were to have kids, if my wife and I had children, we don't have any relatives here to participate in the lives of our children. Like there's no grandparents, there's no aunts, there's no uncles. Like we're living here in central Pennsylvania by ourselves. There's no large family. Our kids would have just gone to see their relatives a couple times a year. But societies that are built more around extended family, there's the pressure and then it just becomes part of it. So you, though, have been able to say to yourself, like, yeah, I may or may not want children. And how much of that do you attribute to the fact that you come from the upper classes? I'm not going to say the upper class, but you come from the upper strata.
To be fair, I mean, you are right. If I didn't belong to kind of, I don't want to like tag it, but yeah, if I didn't belong to the class I belong to, I wouldn't really have a choice, to be fair. Both my parents are educated, they understand, they've traveled, they know, they give me that choice almost. But yeah, if I didn't come from that place, I would definitely be having kids right now, almost.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, it's like, they want you to get married by the time you're 20, 21, and have kids by the time you're 22, 23, so that they can spend time with the grandchild, till-
Okay.
Yeah.
So for your parents, so I want to go back to the two of you also. So for your parents, becoming like grandparents is a thing that they do, the thing that's like, hey, I get to be a grandparent. But if you were from a different class of people, having children isn't about, hey, this will be really fun to be a grandparent, but it's like, no, you have to have children because we have to keep this whole family unit going. It's a different kind of pressure.
Yeah, no, definitely, like, that's there because you see the biggest difference comes in the fact that over here, kids move out of the house when they're 18 or 20, get their own place. Over there, kids live with their parents till the end. Like, you live in the same house, even after you get married, in fact, like, you're staying with your parents. So over there, it's like, the more the merrier, as they say. So they want, like, the house to be, like, almost like a legacy going on, same last names, same everything, trying to keep it bigger, I guess.
It's really fascinating, right? Hey, so let me ask the two of you. Dude, that's cool, by the way. Like, when you think about Nigeria is going to be, the third. First off, what's popping in Nigeria, man? Like, what's happening? Like, people, there are a lot of folks. They don't know where Nigeria is. They know nothing about Nigeria. They don't know like all the cool shit that's coming down in Nigeria. Like, what's? Could you just say something about your country? Like, what's happening, man? What's like?
Nigeria is in West Africa, I guess.
No, not that, man. Like, dude, this is the third most populous country it's going to be in the world very shortly.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a unique place. Like, I feel like there's kind of, maybe a lot of people say that about their country, but there's not really a place like that. The people from there, they're, in general, just very intelligent and also, I guess, funny people. Like, even if there might be a lot of hardship or corruption or things going on, like, we make jokes or find laughter and all the time and all those kinds of things. Like, every time you might see those kind of things going on, like the election that just happened. Even though you might want to, like, be angry or cry about what's going on, you just see, like, the way people treat it, and you just instead cry laughing at, like, the things you're seeing online. So I think there's just a different approach that we have to life. Like,
To living.
Yes.
And a creative approach, right? Like
Yeah.
Nollywood. Like, bro, do you know what Nollywood is? You know what Bollywood is? So Nollywood is the Nigerian Hollywood, right? It's like the music scene in Nigeria, the film scene, the television scene. Like, man, it's just, every time I turn around, I'm seeing stuff about
Yeah,
Nigeria.
I feel like Nigeria is just everywhere. For example, somebody just was at the Oscars, a young girl just like nominated for Grammys or Oscars from Nigeria. The music is everywhere, so I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ewa, what would you add to that?
I would say, like, first of all, Lagos. That's like the hotspots for like anything commercial related in Africa. So like I feel like a lot of people just like gravitate towards like Nigeria because
Yeah.
of that. Like
Because of
factor.
Lagos.
Yeah. And then also Nigeria, like in Nigeria alone, there's over like 250 languages spoken there. So
Yeah.
like you can imagine how like diverse Nigeria is. And there are like 200 million like people right now in Nigeria. That's crazy. I don't know.
No, it is right. Like 250 languages. There's 3 main languages, 5 really, but
Yeah.
it's 250. It's like, it's just a pop in place.
Yeah.
So when you hear me say, for example, hey, class, if you really are interested in furthering your career, you're in marketing, you're in finance, you're in whatever, you need to know what's going on over, not only in Africa in general, but Nigeria in particular. Like, how is that to hear me say that?
And I think it's good because sometimes you want to, obviously the leadership and the things going on like right now, you would want that to be better, especially if we're going to be one of the most, the 3rd most populous country. Hopefully by then those kinds of things have improved, but it's, I would definitely say it's good that we have a bright future. I think.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's just in so many ways just getting started, right? I mean, there are, like you say, a ton of problems, but it's this idea, and this idea that family's really important, and this is the same what you're saying in Bangladesh, right? Family's really important, but what happens is the more money you make, right, the more you kind of get out into the world, the more worldly you are, the more you see things, the more you start to think about, wait a minute, my path in life as a human being, which may or may not involve parenting, right? If it involves parenting, like if I go up these steps right here, there's a future for me up that steps, these steps that are going to really confine me in many different ways, right? But if I decide, hey, I'm not going to have a bunch of kids, and I'm going to go up instead these steps over here, and then I'm going to experience a certain kind of freedom, which the three of you can experience more because you see it, right? Like just being here, man. Like you, bro, the poor areas in Dhaka, like you can't even, people there wouldn't even believe that this exists at all. Same in poor areas, outside of Lagos, right? Some of just the 10 million people that just live in the favela. We say in Latin America, we say favelas, but slums, right? Like, what do you say in Nigeria?
The slums.
We just say slums, yeah. It feels like, that just feels like, what do you say in Bangladesh?
We say bosti.
Bosti?
Yeah.
Can you describe a bosti to people?
So it's basically like think about it like a neighborhood almost, but with houses made of tin foils. They don't have like brick walls like surrounding their houses. It's all made of these tin foils. Like there's no cops in there. There's no space to move cars around in there. People barely have clothes or food in there, to be
And where's
fair.
the sewage?
And the sewage is literally like
just troughs running
Yeah.
down
It's-
next to people's
Yeah,
houses.
it's like they don't really have like a place to throw trash. It's their home, unfortunately, is where they almost throw trash. And the water, like the sewage water that comes out, that's where they shower and things like that because they don't have that access. So it's really sad. And even like if there's a storm one day or something, their houses like fly away. Like
Yeah.
it's made out of tin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of the best.
So we're looking at, and around Dhaka, we're looking at what, like 7 to 10 million people? How many people living in these bosties?
A lot. I mean,
Millions, right?
Millions, yeah.
Yeah. And same outside of Abuja, outside of Lagos and so on, right? It's just really. So what happens is, so for the three of you, this like not having a lot of kids, although, you want to have a couple of kids. Yeah. But it just changes. It's an option. But for most people, it's not.
Yeah, but even if it's not like in that kind of sense of wanting people to survive, I feel like, well, a big one is also, like you were saying about carrying your name on. Like, for example, like even up until as of a few years ago, when my dad's mom was still alive, she would still ask my mom, like maybe to consider adopting a boy or things like that, because of that kind of thing. So a lot of times, sometimes people will have 6 girls and keep trying until they get that boy, just because of those kind of
Yeah,
things. Like,
yeah. So, man, it's crazy, right?
Like I would say like my mom would really want me to have a child because she wants a grandchild.
Yeah.
But it's not something like she would enforce on me.
Yeah, I got you.
But like
Yeah.
for other people, yes, it's kind of unfortunate. But literally the day they get married, a few days later, you find out that they're pregnant.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow.
It's just a given.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas here, like in the U.S., it's much more how you are living. Yeah. Dude. Okay. So, awesome, man. That's it. I'm gonna move on and have a different conversation with different folks. But, dude, thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, you're on. Yeah. You're on. Hey, Junho, where are you? Hey. Why don't you come up too? Go to the next one. All right. Why don't you come up too? Leah, yeah. No, you're good. Yeah. Don't be. It's not a given that I remember your name. Hey, so can you introduce yourselves and say where you're from? Yeah, we'll start with you.
Hi, my name's Yunji, and I'm from China. I'm a journalism major.
And you're part of the stream team.
Yeah, if you guys noticed, I'm the camera operators for this semester.
Yeah. All right.
Hello everyone, my name is Junho and I'm from South Korea. I'm a freshman, I'm studying film.
All right.
Hi guys, my name is Leah. I'm from Korea, so my Korean name is Hyunseo. I'm currently doing a podium TA up here, and I'm a junior majoring in accounting.
So I want to have a conversation with the three of you about a very different issue. And the issue is a really low population rate, a falling population rate that is very troubling and very disturbing for people in different countries, including China, right? So if you're, to be really clear, China for quite a number of years the population was growing. Can you explain the one-child policy?
I guess actually I don't know a lot about that, but I guess the one-child policies began in 1960s, that every family can only have one child. And I guess it's last for 50 years.
Yeah, it's about
And
almost 40 years, yeah.
Almost 40 years.
I think so, yeah.
And in 2016, I guess,
Yeah.
and they just came up with the 2 children policy.
Yeah.
Each family can have 2 children, and in the coming 2021, they came out with the 3 children policy.
So the issue is the birth rate in China was growing so fast that China was very clearly going to be too overpopulated, like we see with India, right? And the Chinese government said, listen, we have to cut the birth rate down. And so we're going to allow people to have 1 child, except in rural areas. Some people could have 2 children, right?
Yeah.
If you had a girl for your first child, do you remember that?
I guess it's like some of the minorities, they
Yeah.
are allowed to have 2 children, but most of the
Like if you were Han
ethnicities,
Chinese.
yeah, they're only allowed to have 1 child, no matter it's girls or boys.
And so one of the things, because of the way Chinese families are, that it's the boy that looks after the parents. The girl gets married off with somebody else, like many, many cultures in the world. So many Chinese parents wanted boys
Yeah, definitely.
and didn't want girls, which is why when you meet people here these days, people who are adopted from China, it's rare to encounter a boy, a male. Like I rarely have a male student who's adopted from China, but I have lots of women students, right? And then because people, we'll come back to this, okay? So here's a question. So the replacement of a population requires that every woman born in that particular population group has 2.1 children. That's the only way you replace a population, meaning that if you want to keep the population steady, not have it decline, not have it grow, you just want to replace it, every woman of childbearing age has to have 2.1 children. So that means if one woman doesn't have 2.1 children, a couple children, that means that some other woman has to have 4. But on average, it has to work out to be 2.1. The current birth rate in Korea is 0.81, and in China, 0.28, like well below, look at Japan, and even Germany and the US, right? And so it's well below reproduction rates. So the way the US population is going to grow is from immigration. The way the German population is going to grow is from immigration. Japan, China, and Korea. Well, China, it's going to continue to grow because of the large number of people in China, but pretty quickly it's going to fall off. So here's my question to you all. Right? When you think about having children, what do you consider? What are you thinking about? Yunchi, maybe we'll just start with you. Like, when you think about whether you're going to have children or not, what are you thinking about?
I think it's like what kind of life I can provide for them. Like, there's a lot of stress, pressures from the society, and I need to give my child the best as I can, like from kindergarten to the best education and best quality of her or his life. So I think that is most of the thing I need to think.
Are you planning to, do you want children?
Actually, no. Like from now, like in my 20s, and I'm not in a close relationship, so not.
So you're not
thinking about
planning,
that.
at this point in time, you're not planning to have children?
Yeah.
So what do you think, what are some of the factors, what are some of the things that you think about so like what you just said about taking care of your children and doing everything you need to do, and like why would you at this stage come down on the side of like, I'm feeling like I don't really want to have kids?
I think one part is about the society. Like, in China, I feel like most of parents educated their children as long as they were born. Like they would choose the best for their children. So it's like it wastes a lot of money actually.
So it costs a lot of money
Yeah,
to have a child.
Yeah, and also finding the good education for them.
Uh-huh.
And for the other parts, I guess it feels just really hurts for the mother. Like many mother got depression after they have child, and it really hurts their body if they are not really be taken care, and yeah, kind of situation last time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Junho, how about you? Do you want to have kids?
Of course. Yes.
Well, you say of course, but in Korea, the of course is not the answer that
Yeah,
most
I know.
Koreans would give.
I know, but like from my perspective, like having a kid is start of my life. Like studying, getting a job, and earning money is like preparation stage to begin my like actual life. So that's why I say it, of course, for me having a child. But like I like prioritize a well-being of my kids, future kids. Like for example, like provide their education or money to get a stable job or like be stable with their future family, like to maintain the, to fulfill their role as a parents or as a human.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, that's a priority for me. Like,
So many Koreans, hang on, let me ask Leah, how about you? Are you, about having children, are you planning to have kids?
Yeah, I do, but maybe just one.
Yeah,
Because when it comes to like having a kid, I believe I will need to be just financially stable. Also, I will need to consider my marriage, how stable it is.
yeah,
Because I know I was pretty privileged, and I know how my parents dedicated to my life.
yeah.
I feel a lot of pressure and responsibility of having a child and let them feel the joy of the environment, just the earth in general.
So one of the things that I hear from people in China and people in Korea is and you said it, right? The pressures of having a child, which is like here in the U.S. I mean, everyone says there are certain pressures of having a child, but it's not like China and Korea. Like American students have this idea that you study hard. You've studied hard in high school and so on, right? And you think like, oh yeah, I had it really tough. I had to work hard. You have no idea what these two Koreans did to get here. You know what I mean? Like studying, like and you, right? Can I assume? Like can you just really quickly just walk us through like what's your day, like your average school day? Yeah, like it starts at what time? Like
mostly, I was in international school, but that's why I don't know about like public school in Korea. But as long as I know, like public school mostly start at like 8:20
yeah,
when you're
And
in
you go.
elementary school.
Yeah.
And when you go up to middle school, high school, you like shift to like 8 or like 7:50.
Okay, and then you get out of school, and then you go where? To the cram schools.
Academy or like private lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that goes until
like 10.
10 p.m.
Yeah.
So you get out of school, right? And then you go, when you're done in the afternoon with school, then you got to go to the private academies or the cram schools. And that could go till like 10 p.m. It's same with you?
Yeah, similarly. I'm going to the public high school in China, but it's like a international program. So we have the traditional Chinese classes in the morning, and we have like English writing, English grammar, English listening, talking, speaking, like in the afternoon. So probably our class began at 7:30, I guess, at that time.
And then you're ending at like 10 p.m.
It's normally ended at 4,
Uh-huh.
I guess, but we still have the extra time for teacher who want to taught you more.
Okay, got it. But you're not going to the private cram schools like in Korea?
Yeah, but
academies?
we went to the cram school like in summer.
Yeah,
Summer,
I got you.
Yeah.
But you guys are doing this all year round. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because when you talk about the pressures of having children and the pressures of doing all the things you need to do to really successfully raise a child, there are a lot more pressures. Like when you think about having to deal with all the education pressures and making sure your child is fully educated. So could you, maybe the two of you in particular talk about that, say in Korea, like how, like, man, I know like the parents that are so stressed out because it's not easy to educate a human being in Korea.
In Korea, average amount of money you put into your child is about 30 millions, from age 0 to 18 for the college.
30 million won.
No, US dollar.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Private lessons and other stuff.
Wait,
So,
30 or
yeah,
3?
30, 30 millions. Actually, I search up for this, but
Yeah.
for international school or you
Okay,
study
I got you.
abroad.
For really wealthy
yeah.
folks. Yeah, I got you.
So-
Over the course of the life of your child. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And you also if you're parents, you need to get a house or get a job, and you need to support your wife or husband,
Yeah.
and let's say both of your parents
Yeah.
they're working
Yeah.
whole time, and
Okay.
you don't have time to take care of your children.
Yeah.
That's major issue for me.
Okay, so hang on, let me get this straight. And then Leah, I want you to comment on it. So here, if I think about having children, okay, I want to have kids. My wife and I have a couple kids, right? We deal with the child up to the age of 5, and then they go to school. And they go to the school down around the block, and we pay our taxes, and that's it, and that's what's expected of us. So this is just okay, here we go. Our child goes to school, and then the child's going to graduate from that school, and they're going to go to college, and they're probably going to go to Penn State because, we work here, so we get a tuition break, and so it's great. They're going to go to Penn State. But that's not life in Korea, and it's not life for many, many people in China. It's you're working to get your child to the best school, and then they got to go to all the cram schools and the academies afterwards. So you're looking at you're going to start at 7 in the morning, really, and you're going to go to about 10 o'clock at night. And even you get home, did you even study when you got home? After you got home from cram school, did you also study?
I did because I was an academics student.
Wait, so hang on. So you get home at 10 p.m., and then you're in your room studying still?
Yeah. At least in high school, I did.
Yeah? And you the same thing?
Similar to me.
Yeah?
We have the study room in our dorm in high school. It's always closed at 12:30, so which means you can learn there until 12:30.
Till 12:30 at night.
Yeah.
And then you
AM.
wake up at 6 in the morning.
Wake up at 6:50.
And you start all over again.
Yeah.
Dude, so listen, hang on. So Americans, right? Just in particular Americans, you probably had a similar experience, right? Yeah. So are you holding this, right? This is a different world. So now you all look at these birth rates here. Look at Korea. So I want to know why is the birth rate so low for Koreans? This is life if you have a child. So listen, if I'm one of you, for me having a child, I have the kid, I send the kid off to the corner school, it's great, there's no expectations for me, I'm not competing with anybody, it's all good, they get educated, they go to college, something happens and then we all die. But what I'm hearing from you all is this is a major, major endeavor to have kids. It's shit, it's costly. It's you're thinking at every single level about the work that you're going to put in. So can you say something about that? Work as a mom, when does the nurturing happen? And when is it just work as a parent that you just got to do all these things to bring money into the household to afford all the things you need to afford, and just make sure that your child does everything your child has to do. Like what's the fun of parenting? Where's that?
I'd say just depends on what my parents say. They told me after they got me, their just word have changed, and they just found a lot of joys nurturing and just raising me as a kid, because I resemble a lot about my parents, and they just love just seeing me growing that way. That just kind of gives them the vibes of their childhoods, and they also get a lot of joy just raising them with their grandparents or so. So that's just gonna be a really fun journey that is a privilege,
But lots of Koreans aren't saying that, right?
because there are a lot of responsibilities and pressures under the name of the parents. They have a lot of responsibilities and a lot of contributions and devotions.
And there's a lot of competition to really do the things like what you're saying, and you would say, for your children. It's like, you don't just send your child off to the local school. It is just an endless game or move. It's like playing a chess game. It's just so incredibly stressful.
Besides just financial stuffs, just get into a really good schools, or like even like getting into good cram schools, it is limited and it has to be really competitive. So parents need to get information about which cram schools or like which schools gonna fit for their kids. And they have to be informative. And just to be informative, they have to talk a lot with the parents around them, and they have to socialize with them. Or so even when, after like the kids got into the school, if they become a class president, I think like most of the parents also like feel their duties and responsibilities of doing something for the classmates, because their kid is the class president.
Got you. Were you class president?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. So that's even more work for your parents. Junho, so the word that she's saying is cram school, okay? Can you define a cram school? Like, did you go to a cram school?
No, because I was under the educational course based on the
Because you went to a different school.
internationals.
Can you describe a cram school, though?
So basically, like you learn in school, you learn stuff based on like your age. But like when you go cram school, like you learn like probably like 2 to 3 years ahead to like be better in your school and like to get a better grade, I guess. Like it's like more about like increasing your personal knowledge.
Is there a reason for this? Like, are Koreans like? But first off, how do Chinese see Koreans in this world of education? Do you see them as the same as Chinese, or are Koreans like, do they stand out?
Like before, I thought like Chinese or Koreans are like at a similar level.
Yeah.
But one of my friends went to Korean university, and what she told me is that it is totally different. Like they're working so hard,
Yeah.
like even more than us. Yeah, and everybody is fighting for the 4.0 GPA.
Yeah.
And yeah, like most of them are study until 5. That is what my friends told me.
Yeah.
What she saw in Korea.
Dude,
Yeah.
listen, you're following this, right? Bro, so like you hold this. So she's waking up at 6 in the morning, she's going to school all day. She leaves school, she goes to the cram school, and then you're just hanging out at the cram school? You got more teachers there? Like you're just studying for another 6 hours?
So like just looking back, I think I made a lot more friends in cram schools
Yeah.
compared to like just in class, because there are a lot of people and students from different schools as well. So we hang out, chill, but at the same time, we started really hard.
But do you have childhoods? Like, what do you do? I mean, I talk about like, having children in Korea. I'm like, but wait, where's the childhood? Like, what are you doing? Like, do you have hobbies? Like, besides studying? Like, so I didn't do, listen, man, just by context, I just want to say this publicly. One time in my entire high school career, one time I took a book home overnight, and it was an accident. I accidentally left it in my book bag, and I had to carry it home, and then I took it back. One time. That was it for me. So, like, and here I am. I feel like I'm such a slacker. Like, if I'd have been born in Korea, I could be a real person who had a real job, who was more distinguished in some way, and I feel like such a fool. Do you have childhoods?
Yeah.
Yeah, your childhood is just studying.
I'm gonna say like my childhood memory, or like mostly in school.
In
like,
school.
Or out of school activity, such as like sports team.
Okay, all right. Okay, I got that. Hey, can you go with, can you just go to the next slide? So here, let me just show you a couple things here. So here's the Korean population. 3.3% are not Koreans. So you got a whole country here that is operating on this idea of education and having to really provide for children. And it's very stressful. It sounds just incredibly stressful for me. So it's not, when I think about me, the decision that I made to not have children was a little bit complicated because I'm like, well, it's not that much work to have a child. But if I were in Korea, I'd be thinking, like, damn, this is so much work to have kids. Like, I definitely don't want to have kids. So when I think about that, the numbers of the birth rate in Korea, I just think about it from my lens, and it kind of makes sense at some level, that the people would be really reluctant. Are people, can I ask, does that make sense to you also, like being Chinese? But if does that make sense? Like the amount of work that goes in, just like being, hang on, that's not the question I want to ask you. Is China offering any special benefits to parents to have kids, like because China is now trying to get people to have more kids?
Actually, I don't know a lot, but I guess yes. I guess they have for I don't know. I feel like if they have one more kids.
But are you getting the message that, like, hey, you're supposed to now have more kids? Like the Chinese government is saying, like, hey, listen, man, when you go back to China, have children. Do you get that message?
Yeah. Actually, my parents expect that for me.
They expect that for you?
Yeah, like I remember that when one time my mother told me, like, she's so, I don't know, it felt so weird. Like, she told me that, in your age, like, if you're in the rural area, you are already a mother. But we support you to have more education.
But you're the exact person in China who's not going to have kids. You're going to be highly educated. You've lived abroad. You're much more likely to go back and not have kids. People like you.
I feel like I just don't want to have a kids by myself.
Yeah, for sure.
I
to get married and have a child.
I felt like I wanted to adopt someone. Like there are so many kids abandoned by their parents.
Yeah.
So if I want to have a child, maybe I will choose this way.
And you're an only child, right?
Yeah, I'm the only child in my family.
And you're a girl, so that's like a much bigger thing for your parents. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. Hey, what is the Korean government offering people to have more kids? Because I know the Korean government is like really pushing people to start. First off, when parents have more than 2 children, there's a name that you all use for them, like.
I think you mean 다둥이.
What's that?
다둥이.
Yeah. What's it mean?
So, 다둥이 자녀 means you have like children more than the number of 3.
Yeah.
I think it have changed to like 2. I'm not sure, but that was 3 in the past.
But you have a special elevated
Yeah,
status.
Incentives, maybe like possible discounts.
Yeah.
You get specific cards
Yeah.
from the government.
Yeah.
that you can
Right now, they're
use.
just raising the amount of money that you make as a parent for the first year anyway to like $750 a month just to have a child. Imagine that. Like you have a child. This is what the Korean government is doing because they need people to have children because here, let me show you this. Actually, it was just kind of interesting. Can you go to the next slide? Like this is the age sex ratio. So it's men on the left, women on the right, okay, everywhere. And men, women. This is 1960. So see, there's very few old people above the age of 80 and lots of young people below the age of 10. And then look at 90, it's the young people start to decline, old people grow. Look at 2010, old people grow, young people decline. And then look here, in 2030, you've got all these old people and you don't have anyone to take care of them. So like, when I go to Korea, for example, I like stay at this hotel. It's it's a retirement hotel. And like, you have so many old people in Korea, but you don't have anybody who's young to take care of them. This is a major national crisis. Like, so for the Korean government, this is a national crisis. Like no one knows what to do and how to stop this. Like you either got to bring people in, foreigners in, you got to like use AI or some kind of innovation or robotics or whatever. You got to convince people to have more kids. But it's difficult to convince people to have more kids when it's so hard. There's so much pressure to do certain things.
One fun fact is like in the 1960s, the Korean government even encouraged people to have just one kid
Yeah.
because they just had so many kids. They kind of like encouraged it through spreading slogans.
Yeah.
Get one kid only and raise them really well.
Yeah.
But then now we just face the opposite situation.
Yeah.
And the government is just kind of like encouraging people to have more kids because everyone want to get just one kid or none.
Yeah. Maybe they'll start to make defective birth control or something. Bro.
I think like people tend to like not have children is because like after war, like North and South,
Yeah.
like people in Korea, like South Korea, they prioritize the education. So as more education is exposed to like women as well, like they're more educated, so they learn about the family planning, contraception,
Yeah.
and then like that increase, like that I think that they encourage people to not have a baby.
Yeah, so it's like the 3 people who were up here earlier, more highly educated. The more highly educated you are, the less number of children you have, right? Korea, this is not China, because China is just such too large of a country for this, but Korea is one of, if not the most highly educated country in the world. And so when you have such high levels of education, you're much less likely to have children, because like, why would you? You have all these other things that are happening in your life, like, especially now in this world, right? There's so many interesting things. So like, what's the point of having kids? I mean, other than the possibility of, nurturing and so on. But when you see this, it's really tremendous. Anyway, listen, the bottom line here for me is that this is the future shakeup of the world, that some countries are going to decline in numbers and lots of different reasons, and other countries are going to grow. And there's just endless movement around, how this operates. And it's the world in 30 or 40 years is going to look really different from today. And it's, to me, as a sociologist who studies this stuff, it's really fascinating. And white people, by the way, those of us who are white, our numbers are just shrinking and will continue to shrink in regards to the world's population, which is getting browner and blacker. And that's just kind of the nature of how things are. All right, man. Can we go to the next? Hey, thanks you all, right? Can we...